I can reveal today that the United States government has information to indicate that individuals tied to terrorist groups in Syria have already attempted to gain access to our country through the U.S. refugee program.
All right, that was House Homeland Security Chairman Mike McCaul yesterday issuing a dire warning about our national security. He joins us now to explain. If you can now reveal today that our government has information indicating that ISIS or al-Qaeda, those with terror ties, have already tried to infiltrate the refugee population, isn't that a real clear present danger to every American to allow these people in?
Well, I believe it does, Sean. I mean, I sent a letter to the DNI, FBI, Secretary of Homeland. The DNI, Director of National Intelligence, responded that the National Counterterrorism Center has identified, and this is very, very important to your viewers, has identified already individuals tied to terrorist organizations in Syria that want to exploit and get into the United States through the refugee process. Some of these have been stopped, but my concern is if we allow this program to go forward, could potentially be bringing ticking time bombs into the United States.
So in other words,
they could perpetrate terrorist attacks.
Would you go as far as to say that the president insisting on taking these refugees in spite of what I assume are intelligence assessments that you're reading, that he's gambling with the lives of the American people?
I think he's playing Russian roulette with national security. And the fact is, you know, when you have the FBI director who testified before my committee, the Secretary of Homeland Security, talk about the lack of a vetting process, first and foremost, we have to protect the safety of Americans. We're a humanitarian nation, but let's get this thing right before we start bringing in tens of thousands of Syrians. That's why the bill I introduced in the House that passed overwhelmingly has to pass in the Senate. And if the president vetoes it, we have a veto-proof majority in the House to override that.
Congressman, based on what you have said, and General Allen has said, and James Comey has said, and Michael Steinbeck has said, and Nicholas Rasmussen has said, and John Kirby has said, do you think that Donald Trump's idea that we don't have this vetting system down in any way? Look at the case of this woman that grew up in Saudi Arabia, had a Pakistani passport, gave the wrong address, nobody caught it. Do you think it's wise, and look what happened in Paris, ISIS infiltrated the refugee population there. Do you think it might be a good idea, until we get a hold of this, to put a pause on it? In other words, do you think Trump has a point?
We did this with the Iraqi refugee process. We put a hold on it. I think we have to do it in this case because ISIS, in their own words, has said they want to exploit it to infiltrate the West. Now we have our intelligence community reporting to me that specific individuals now are trying to get into the United States through this program. It would be highly irresponsible for me to be complicit with a federal program that could bring terrorists into the United States at this particular time.
Do you think it should be expanded, though, into people that grow up in these countries under very strict Sharia law, that persecute women, that kill gays and lesbians? You know, I'm surprised more liberals aren't outraged at the treatment of people under Sharia. But if you grow up under Sharia and you want to come to America, how do we know whether or not you want to assimilate, become an American, or whether or not you want to bring your values with you?
Well, you've identified the problem. We don't have enough intelligence on the ground in Syria or Iraq, for that matter. The jihad movement spreading throughout northern Africa. And so we have to have a more robust national security vetting process before we bring any of these refugees into the United States. I will say 2,000 of them have been brought in already, and we don't have the ability to monitor them. I think we need to put a pause on the program, put the brakes on it, pass my legislation to ensure the safety of Americans. Look, I've had this both publicly and privately from the intelligence community and law enforcement that this poses a serious and imminent threat to the United States.
If it's Russian roulette, I think the lives and the safety of the American people need to come first. So until people like you and our FBI director and all the other people I mentioned, our National Director of Intelligence, until they say it's safe, I agree with you. A pause is the prudent thing to do. Sir, thank you for being with us. Appreciate your good work.